Hey there. Tonight we're diving into something that might hit a little too close to home for some of you. We're talking about call centers, those fluorescent lit dungeons where human souls go to get slowly drained through a headset. You might think you know what it's like. Maybe you've worked retail. Maybe you've dealt with difficult customers before. But trust me, a call center is a different beast entirely. It's psychological warfare disguised as customer service, and most people wouldn't make it past their first coffee break. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Welcome to the modern equivalent of a medieval torture chamber. Except instead of Iron Maidens and racks, we have performance metrics and quality scores. You're about to experience what it's really like to be a call center worker, not the sanitized corporate training video version, but the soul-crushing reality that chews up idealistic new hires and spits out hollow-eyed survivors who flinch at the sound of a ringing phone. Congratulations, you've just been hired as a call center representative. The good news, you have a job. The bad news, your humanity is about to be systematically stripped away, one phone call at a time. Your first challenge hits you before you even sit down. The smell. It's a unique bouquet of stale coffee, industrial strength, disinfectant, microwaved leftover lunches, and something that might be despair, but could just be the carpet that hasn't been replaced since the Clinton administration. The air is thick with the sound of dozens of conversations happening simultaneously, creating a white noise symphony of human misery that will become the soundtrack to your working life. You're led to your workstation, a generous term for what amounts to a glorified phone booth. Your desk is approximately 3 feet by 2 feet, just big enough for a computer monitor that's seen better decades. A keyboard that's sticky with the residue of 1,000 hurried meals, and a phone that looks like it was designed during the Cold War. There's no window. Natural light is apparently bad for productivity. The fluorescent bulbs overhead flicker with the persistence of a dying star, casting everything in a sickly greenish hue that makes everyone look like they're suffering from a minor case of radiation poisoning. Your chair, and I use that term loosely, is an ergonomic disaster that was probably comfortable for about 5 minutes in 1987. The padding has compressed into something resembling cardboard, and the armrests are held on with what appears to be duct tape and wishful thinking. You'll spend the next 8 hours in this chair, and by hour 3, your lower back will feel like someone's been using it as a percussion instrument. The computer monitor flickers to life, revealing a complex array of software windows that look like they were designed by someone who actively hates user interfaces. There are at least 6 different programs you'll need to navigate simultaneously, each one requiring different passwords that you're not allowed to write down for security reasons. The system crashes approximately every 20 minutes, but don't worry, your call volume expectations remain the same. As you adjust your headset, a plastic and foam contraption that will leave permanent indentations in your skull, you notice your new colleagues. They move with the deliberate slowness of people who have learned that enthusiasm is punished and initiative is suspicious. Their eyes have a particular glassy quality, like they're looking at something just beyond the visible spectrum. This is your future, staring back at you through coffee-stained safety glasses and forced smiles. The training supervisor approaches with a clipboard and the kind of aggressive cheerfulness that suggests she's either heavily medicated or has completely dissociated from reality. Ready for your first day, she chirps, and you realize this might be the last time anyone asks if you're ready for anything. From now on, readiness is assumed, and failure to be ready is a coachable moment. You're handed a laminated card with approved responses and a 3-ring binder that's thicker than a phone book. This is your Bible, your constitution, your survival guide. Every possible customer interaction has been scripted, every human emotion reduced to a flowchart. Deviation from the script is monitored, measured, and noted in your permanent file. The phone system beeps to life, and suddenly you're no longer a person with thoughts, feelings, and a mortgage. You're representative for 772, and your first caller is already waiting. Your supervisor gives you an encouraging nod that somehow manages to feel more like a threat. Welcome to the call center. Your shift starts now, and for the next 8 hours, you belong to whoever decides to dial your company's number. The first ring cuts through the ambient noise like a dentist's drill. Your heart rate spikes, not from excitement, but from the primal fear response that every call center worker develops within their first week. This Pavlovian reaction to ringing phones will follow you home, making you flinch every time your personal phone buzzes. Many veterans report sleeping with their phones on silent for months after quitting, just to avoid the triggered anxiety response. You click the accept button, and immediately you're no longer yourself. You're now a corporate entity wearing your skin, speaking in a voice that's been focus grouped and optimized for customer satisfaction. The transformation is instant and unsettling. Your natural speaking patterns disappear, replaced by an artificial cadence that sounds like someone doing a bad impression of a helpful person. Thank you for calling. This is representative for 772. How can I provide excellent service today? The words taste like plastic in your mouth. You've been taught to smile while speaking because supposedly customers can hear your smile through the phone. This results in 8 hours of forced facial contortion that leaves your cheek muscles cramping and your jaw clicking like a broken clock. Your first caller is Mrs. Henderson from Toledo, and she's furious about a billing error. Not mildly annoyed, absolutely incandescent with rage. Her voice comes through your headset like audio napalm, and you realize that your $12 an hour position has just made you the human lightning rod for every frustration, disappointment, and personal crisis in Mrs. Henderson's life. She screams about how she's been a customer for 23 years, how this company used to care about people, how nobody takes responsibility anymore. You're not allowed to interrupt, explain, or defend yourself. You must absorb this verbal assault while typing notes into 6 different screens, maintaining your artificially pleasant tone and following a script that was clearly written by someone who has never actually spoken to a human being. I understand your frustration, Mrs. Henderson, and I want to help resolve this for you today. You hear yourself saying, though what you want to say rhymes with duck off. Your supervisor is already hovering nearby, listening to your call through her own headset, ready to mark down any deviation from approved responses. Every word you speak is being recorded, monitored, and graded. Privacy is a luxury for customers, not employees. Mrs. Henderson continues her tirade, and you discover that call center representatives are expected to possess the emotional regulation skills of a Buddhist monk, the technical knowledge of an IT specialist, the patience of a kindergarten teacher, and the problem-solving abilities of a forensic accountant, all for wages that barely cover gas and groceries. 23 minutes into your first call, you realize you haven't solved Mrs. Henderson's problem. You can't solve her problem because it requires supervisor approval. But your supervisor is busy listening to other calls and marking people down for insufficient empathy. You're trapped in a bureaucratic nightmare where everyone has just enough authority to say no, but nobody has enough authority to say yes. Your call time is being monitored. Anything over 7 minutes requires an explanation. Anything under 4 minutes suggests you're not being thorough. You must hit the exact sweet spot of efficiency without appearing rushed, thorough without being slow, helpful without being too accommodating. It's like trying to perform surgery while riding a unicycle. Technically possible, but guaranteed to end badly. Finally, you transfer Mrs. Henderson to a supervisor who will probably transfer her to someone else, who will definitely not solve her problem either. She hangs up with a final expletive that burns through your headset like acid rain. The call ends, and before you can even process what just happened, the phone rings again, and again, and again. Welcome to call center mathematics. 8 hours equals roughly 200 calls, which equals 200 opportunities for your faith in humanity to die a little more. Your first hour is complete, and you already understand why the employee bathroom has motivational posters that are clearly designed by people who have never worked a day in customer service. 7 hours to go, and the day has barely started. By your second hour, you've discovered that call centers operate on a unique relationship with time that would make Einstein weep. Minutes stretch like taffy when you're dealing with an angry customer, but your break time evaporates faster than water in Death Valley. You're given 2 15-minute breaks and 1 30-minute lunch in an 8-hour shift. This sounds reasonable until you realize that your break time includes walking to the break room, using the bathroom, and walking back, leaving you approximately 9 minutes to decompress from the psychological warfare you've been enduring. The break room is a fluorescent lit purgatory that somehow manages to be more depressing than your actual workstation. The vending machine only takes exact change and has been temporarily out of order for 6 months. The microwave looks like it survived a small explosion and smells like every sad lunch that's ever been reheated in it. The coffee maker produces a substance that's technically liquid, but bears no resemblance to actual coffee. It's more like hot brown water with delusions of caffeine. Your colleagues barely make eye contact during breaks, not because they're unfriendly, but because everyone is desperately trying to preserve what little mental energy they have left. Conversation is limited to grunts, weather observations, and the occasional bitter laugh when someone shares their latest caller horror story. The silence isn't awkward, it's therapeutic. These 15 minutes of not having to speak in customer service voice, not having to solve impossible problems, and not having to pretend to care about things you cannot control. But even break time is monitored. Take 16 minutes instead of 15, and it goes in your file. Come back 30 seconds late, and it affects your attendance score. The tracking system monitors when you log out, when you log back in, and even how long you spend in the bathroom. Privacy isn't just dead. It's been buried, cremated, and scattered to the winds of corporate efficiency metrics. As you return to your desk, you notice the wall displays showing real-time statistics: average call time, calls in queue, abandonment rate. These numbers flash and change constantly, creating a hypnotic effect that feels deliberately designed to increase anxiety. Your individual performance is also displayed, not privately, but on a board visible to everyone. Your call time, your sales numbers, your customer satisfaction scores are all public information, turning your job performance into a spectator sport for your co-workers. The phone rings again. This time, it's Dave from Phoenix, and he's been on hold for 47 minutes. He's not just angry, he's reached that special level of fury that exists beyond normal human emotion. He's transcended mere rage and achieved a zen-like state of pure, concentrated hatred. And you, representative for 772, are about to become the focal point for this cosmic anger. Dave doesn't want to hear your scripted apology. He doesn't want your I understand your frustration. He wants blood, preferably yours. And he's going to spend the next 25 minutes explaining exactly how your company, your industry, and you personally have ruined his entire life. You'll listen to every word, type notes you'll never use, and somehow maintain a professional tone while your soul slowly leaks out through your headset. This is hour 2, and you're already fantasizing about career changes. Janitor seems nice, at least garbage doesn't yell at you. Even medieval peasants had it better. They only had to worry about plague, famine, and invading armies. You have to worry about call volume, quality scores, and the growing suspicion that this headset is slowly reshaping your skull. 2 hours down, 6 to go, the phone is already ringing again. Hour 3 is when the real psychological warfare begins. You've moved past the initial shock and entered what call center veterans call the adjustment phase, that special state of mind where you start to dissociate from your own voice and begin treating your personality like a work costume that you put on each morning. The calls keep coming with the relentless persistence of ocean waves. Jennifer from Atlanta needs to change her address, but the system won't let you do it without a supervisor override. The supervisor is in a meeting. The meeting has been going on for 45 minutes. Jennifer has been transferred 3 times already, and is now threatening to take her business elsewhere. A threat that would be more effective if she wasn't locked into a 2-year contract with early termination fees that would require a small loan to pay off. Your computer crashes twice during Jennifer's call. When it reboots, you have to log back into 6 different systems, each with its own password requirements. One requires numbers and special characters. Another forbids special characters. A third demands you change your password every 30 days, but won't let you reuse any of your last 12 passwords. By the time you're back online, Jennifer has been disconnected, and your call abandonment rate has taken another hit. The metrics are always watching. Average handle time, first call resolution, customer satisfaction scores, upsell percentage, attendance, adherence to schedule, quality scores. You're not just doing a job, you're feeding a data-hungry algorithm that reduces your entire professional existence to a series of numbers that flash on screens throughout the office. Miss your targets, and you get coaching. Exceed them too much, and you get additional responsibilities without additional pay. Your 3rd hour brings Marcus from Seattle, who purchased a product online and now can't figure out how to use it. The instruction manual is apparently written in what he describes as alien hieroglyphics, and he wants you to walk him through every single step of setup and operation. This would be fine if you had been trained on this product, but you haven't. In fact, you've never seen this product. It was launched 3 weeks ago, and training on new products happens quarterly, if you're lucky. So you find yourself in the surreal position of providing technical support for a device you've never touched, using documentation that was clearly translated through 3 different languages by someone who has never used the device either. Marcus grows increasingly frustrated as you stumble through menu options and features, occasionally putting him on hold to frantically search through knowledge bases that contain contradictory information. Don't you people know anything about your own products? Marcus asks, and you realize he's absolutely right. You don't. Nobody does. The company launches products faster than they can train representatives, update knowledge bases, or even inform customer service that these products exist. You're essentially providing tech support through educated guessing and wishful thinking. Meanwhile, your supervisor appears beside your desk with a clipboard and that expression that suggests you're about to receive coaching. In call center terminology, coaching is what happens when you're not meeting metrics, not following script, or not demonstrating sufficient enthusiasm for your role as a human punching bag. It's delivered in the tone of helpful guidance, but it feels more like being lectured by someone who learned customer service from a PowerPoint presentation. "I noticed your average handle time is running a bit high today," she says, as if you've been deliberately trying to help customers to thoroughly. Remember, we want to be efficient while still providing excellent service. This is call center doublespeak for solve problems faster without actually solving them properly. You nod and smile while internally calculating how many years you'd need to save up to afford quitting this job without ending up homeless. Marcus is still waiting, still confused, still growing more irritated by the minute. Your handle time is now approaching 15 minutes, which in call center metrics is roughly equivalent to giving away the company's annual profits. You can practically feel the disapproval radiating from your supervisor's clipboard as she makes notes about your opportunity for improvement. Hour 3 ends with Marcus finally figuring out how to plug in his device correctly, a solution that took 23 minutes to discover and could have been avoided if the company had included pictures in their instruction manual. Your stress levels are now high enough to power a small city. Your jaw hurts from forced smiling, and you've developed a nervous tic that makes you flinch every time you hear the word representative. 3 hours down, 5 to go. The afternoon stretches ahead like a desert highway in August, endless, punishing, and guaranteed to leave you fundamentally changed by the experience. Hour 4 is when most new call center employees discover that they've entered what can only be described as customer service purgatory, a place where logic goes to die and common sense is considered a workplace hazard. You're no longer dealing with rational human beings making reasonable requests. You're now handling the overflow from the ninth circle of consumer hell, where every caller has already spoken to 3 other representatives, been transferred 4 times, and reached that special level of fury that exists beyond normal human emotion. The phone rings, and this time it's Sandra from Miami. Sandra has been charged a late fee on her account. The late fee is $25. Her monthly service costs $19.99. She has been a customer for 8 years and has never been late with a payment before. This should be a simple fix. Waive the fee, apologize for the inconvenience, move on with life. But simple fixes don't exist in call center land. To waive the fee, you need supervisor approval. Your supervisor is currently coaching another representative who apparently demonstrated insufficient urgency during a call about a billing inquiry. The coaching session involves reviewing a recording of the call, discussing opportunities for improvement, and having the representative sign a document acknowledging their commitment to better performance. This process takes approximately 45 minutes and happens in full view of everyone else, serving both as professional development and psychological intimidation. Sandra is not interested in waiting. She's already waited 28 minutes on hold, and her patience has evaporated like water in the Sahara. She wants to speak to a manager, the CEO, the president, and possibly the ghost of the company's founder. You explain that managers are unavailable, but you'd be happy to have one call her back within 24 to 48 hours. This is corporate speak for maybe someone will call you next week. Maybe they won't, but definitely not today. While Sandra expresses her feelings about your company's customer service policies using vocabulary that would make a longshoreman blush, you're required to maintain professional composure. You cannot match her energy, defend yourself, or even acknowledge that her frustration is completely justified. You must absorb her anger like a human lightning rod, while typing notes into multiple systems that will probably never be read by anyone. The call center headset has now become a direct conduit for human misery. 8 times out of 10, People calling customer service are having one of the worst days of their year. Their internet is down, their bill is wrong, their product is broken. Or they've been transferred so many times, they're starting to question the basic structure of reality. And you, representative for 772, have become the human face of every corporate decision, policy change, and system failure that has led to their current state of despair. Sandra's call ends after 37 minutes with the fee still unwaived, her problem still unsolved, and your soul a little more withered than it was an hour ago. Your average handle time is now completely destroyed. Your supervisor is making concerned faces while reviewing your real-time statistics. And the phone is already ringing again with your next opportunity to fail someone completely. This time, it's Robert from Denver. And Robert has discovered something that will haunt you for the rest of your brief call center career. He's been transferred to you by mistake. He doesn't need customer service. He needs technical support. But technical support transferred him to billing. Billing transferred him to sales. Sales transferred him to customer retention. Customer retention transferred him to you. He's been on the phone for 2 hours and 17 minutes. And he's beginning to suspect that your entire company is run by an elaborate system of trained hamsters. Robert's problem involves a technical issue that requires someone with actual technical knowledge. You are not that person. You are hired to read scripts and process complaints, not to understand how anything actually works. But Robert doesn't want to be transferred again, and honestly, you don't blame him. The transfer system in most call centers is like a carnival game designed to make customers give up in frustration rather than actually connecting them to someone who can help. So you find yourself pretending to provide technical support while frantically searching through knowledge bases that were last updated during the Obama administration. You're asking Robert to try solutions that you don't understand for problems you can't diagnose using equipment you've never seen. It's like trying to perform surgery using instructions you found on a cereal box. 24 minutes into Robert's call, you finally accept defeat and transfer him to technical support, where he'll probably wait another 40 minutes before speaking to someone who will transfer him somewhere else. Robert's parting words are unprintable, but completely understandable. You've just spent nearly half an hour of both your lives accomplishing absolutely nothing, which is somehow considered a normal part of business operations. Hour 4 ends with your metrics in shambles, your supervisor scheduling a coaching session for tomorrow morning, and your faith in the concept of customer service lying in ruins around your ergonomically disastrous workstation. Your back hurts, your head hurts, and you're starting to understand why the employee handbook has an entire section devoted to stress management and mental health resources. For hours down, 4 to go. Halfway through your shift, and you're already planning your resignation letter in your head. Unfortunately, resignation letters don't pay rent, and rent is due next week. Hour 5 is when the true horror of call center work reveals itself. The realization that this isn't a temporary nightmare you'll wake up from, but your actual daily reality for the foreseeable future. The calls keep coming with the mechanical persistence of a factory assembly line. Except instead of manufacturing products, you're processing human misery and corporate incompetence. Your next caller is Margaret from Kansas City. And Margaret has a problem that perfectly illustrates the beautiful absurdity of modern customer service. She ordered a product online 3 weeks ago. The product was delivered to the wrong address. The delivery company says it's not their fault. They delivered it to the address on the label. Your company says it's not their fault. They sent it to the address Margaret provided. Margaret insists she provided the correct address, and she's probably right. But somewhere in the labyrinthine process of order entry, address verification, and shipping coordination, reality got lost. To resolve this issue, you need to contact the shipping company, verify the delivery address, confirm the original order details, possibly issue a refund, and arrange for a replacement shipment. This process requires accessing 4 different computer systems, calling to external vendors, and obtaining approval from a supervisor who is currently in another coaching session about the importance of maintaining positive customer interactions. Margaret, understandably, doesn't want to hear about your internal processes. She wants her product or her money back, and she wants it now. She doesn't care that your computer system is running on software that was considered outdated when flip phones were revolutionary. She doesn't care that your shipping partner uses a tracking system that updates approximately once per geological era. She just wants someone to take responsibility and fix the problem. But here's the beautiful catch-22 of call center work. You have all the responsibility and none of the authority. You're responsible for solving Margaret's problem, but you can't issue refunds without supervisor approval. You're responsible for customer satisfaction, but you can't override company policies. You're responsible for representing the company, but you can't actually make any decisions on behalf of the company. You're essentially a highly monitored messenger with a headset and access to systems that don't work properly. While Margaret explains for the 3rd time how this experience has completely ruined her opinion of your company, several vendors, and possibly the entire concept of online shopping. You're typing notes into a case management system that will probably crash before you finish entering them. The notes won't help Margaret get her product, but they will provide documentation that you attempted resolution when your supervisor reviews your performance later. Your computer freezes. Again, this happens approximately every 45 minutes, and each time it requires a complete restart of all systems. The restart process takes 8 minutes, during which Margaret sits on hold, listening to music that was specifically chosen to be inoffensive, and therefore sounds like the audio equivalent of beige wallpaper. When you finally get back online, Margaret has reached a new level of frustration that scientists haven't yet named, but probably involves the spontaneous generation of steam from her ears. The call ends after 49 minutes, with Margaret's problem unresolved, her faith in humanity diminished, and your performance metrics completely destroyed. Your average handle time is now so far above target that your supervisor will probably schedule an intensive coaching session to discuss your opportunities for growth. In call center terminology, this means you'll spend 30 minutes being lectured about efficiency while sitting in a conference room that smells like desperation and industrial carpet cleaner. But there's no time to contemplate your failing metrics because the phone is already ringing again. This time, it's William from Portland. And William has discovered the ultimate call center paradox. He wants to cancel his service. This should be simple, but cancellation requires transferring him to the retention department, whose entire job is to prevent people from canceling by offering discounts, upgrades, and payment plans that somehow make leaving more expensive than staying. William has been through this process before. He knows about the retention department. He knows about the offers. He knows about the surveys and the callbacks and the special deals for valued customers. He just wants to cancel his service and move on with his life. But your company has turned the simple act of cancellation into an elaborate psychological obstacle course, designed to exhaust customers into submission. "I just want to cancel," William says, with the weary resignation of someone who has stared into the abyss of corporate customer service and seen it stare back. "I don't want to hear about deals or upgrades or how much you value my business. I just want out." But you can't just cancel his service. That would be too easy, too logical, too humane. You have to transfer him to retention, where he'll spend another 40 minutes explaining his decision to leave while someone tries to convince him that what he really wants is a premium upgrade at a discounted rate. It's like being trapped in a bureaucratic version of Hotel California. You can check out any time you like, but you can never actually leave. Hour 5 ends with William still trapped in the retention queue, your soul a little more corroded by the acid of corporate inefficiency, and your growing suspicion that call centers were designed by people who have never actually used customer service themselves. Your stress headache has evolved into something that feels like a small, angry creature has taken up residence behind your left eye, and you've developed a nervous laugh that emerges at completely inappropriate moments. 5 hours down, 3 to go. You're beginning to understand why call center turnover rates are higher than the staff rotation at a medieval siege. People don't quit these jobs, they escape from them. Hour 6 brings with it a special kind of psychological exhaustion that combines sleep deprivation, sensory overload, and the slow realization that you've become a cog in a machine designed to frustrate people while pretending to help them. Your artificial customer service voice has now completely replaced your natural speaking patterns, and you find yourself using phrases like, "I'd be happy to help you with that," even when ordering lunch from the vending machine. The calls have blurred together into one continuous stream of human disappointment. There was Patricia from Tampa, who couldn't understand why her unlimited data plan apparently had limits. There was Kevin from Boston, who wanted to return a product he'd purchased 13 months ago, and was genuinely shocked to learn that the return policy had a 1-year limit. There was Lisa from Austin, who had been sold a service package by your sales department that doesn't actually exist. And now you have to explain that she's been paying for imaginary features for the past 6 months. Each call follows the same basic pattern. Customer has problem. You lack authority to solve problem. Customer gets frustrated. You apologize using approved language. Problem remains unsolved. Customer hangs up angry. Metrics get worse. Supervisor expresses concern about your performance. It's like being trapped in a corporate version of Groundhog Day. Except, instead of learning and growing from the repetition, you're slowly losing pieces of your sanity. Your current caller is Thomas from Seattle, and Thomas has reached the final stage of customer service: grief, acceptance. He's not angry anymore. He's not even frustrated. He's just tired. Bone deep, soul weary, tired. He's been trying to resolve a billing issue for 3 months, and he's spoken to 17 different representatives, been transferred 24 times, and received 12 different explanations for the same problem. He's not calling because he expects you to fix anything. He's calling because the automated system won't let him access his account without speaking to a representative first. "I know you can't help me," Thomas says with the flat affect of someone who has been broken by the system. "I know you're going to tell me you need to transfer me to someone else. Who will transfer me to someone else? Who will tell me they need to research the issue and call me back, which they won't. I just need you to note in my account that I called, because otherwise your billing system will flag me as non-responsive." Thomas understands the game better than most of your co-workers. He knows that call centers aren't really designed to solve problems. They're designed to create the appearance of customer service, while actually serving as a bureaucratic moat around the company's actual decision makers. He's not a customer anymore. He's a participant in an elaborate corporate theater production where everyone pretends that customer service exists, while both sides know it doesn't. You spend 23 minutes with Thomas, not because his issue is complex, but because your computer system requires you to document every detail of his previous interactions, verify his identity through a security process that was designed by someone who apparently believes that customers are elaborate con artists trying to gain unauthorized access to the privilege of paying bills, and then navigate through multiple screens, to add notes that will probably never be read by anyone. Thomas thanks you for your time with the polite resignation of someone attending his own funeral. He knows his problem won't be solved today, tomorrow, or next month. He'll keep calling, keep explaining, keep hoping that eventually he'll reach someone with both the knowledge and authority to help him. But that person doesn't exist in your call center, and probably doesn't exist in your company at all. After Thomas's call, you realize that you've been inadvertently participating in a form of psychological torture, not intentional torture. Nobody wakes up in the morning planning to destroy the human spirit through customer service, but the cumulative effect of corporate policies, system limitations, and metric-driven management has created a perfect storm of institutional incompetence that crushes both customers and employees with equal efficiency. Your supervisor approaches with her clipboard and that expression that suggests you're about to receive more coaching. "I've been reviewing your calls today," she says, "and I notice that your customer satisfaction scores are trending downward. Let's talk about some strategies for improving the customer experience." This is the point where you realize that you're being held responsible for customer satisfaction while being systematically prevented from actually satisfying customers. It's like being a firefighter who's only allowed to use gasoline to put out fires, then being criticized when the fires get bigger. The cognitive dissonance is so profound that you briefly wonder if you've accidentally entered an alternate dimension where logic works backwards and up is down. Hour 6 ends with your supervisor scheduling additional coaching sessions, your customer satisfaction scores in freefall, and your growing suspicion that call centers exist in a parallel universe, where cause and effect operate according to principles that would make quantum physicists weep. Your headset has left permanent marks on your head. Your chair has molded itself to the shape of your gradually deteriorating spine. And you've developed a 1,000-yard stare that suggests you've seen things that cannot be unseen. 6 hours down, 2 to go. You're in the home stretch now, assuming your sanity can survive the final countdown to freedom. Hour 7 is when most call center employees enter what psychologists might call a dissociative state, that peculiar mental condition where you're physically present but emotionally and spiritually absent. Your body continues to answer calls, type notes, and follow scripts, while your consciousness retreats to a safer place where customer satisfaction scores can't hurt you anymore. The calls keep coming with the relentless consistency of waves against a seawall. There's Carol from Phoenix, who can't understand why her bill went up after she agreed to a promotional rate. That was clearly explained to last only 3 months, but was presented in a way that suggested it would continue forever. There's David from Minneapolis, who wants to add a service to his account, but that service isn't available in his area, wasn't available when he signed up, and won't be available until sometime after the heat death of the universe. Each conversation follows the same script, but the script was written by people who have never actually spoken to customers. It includes phrases like, "I understand your frustration, you don't. I want to help resolve this for you today, you can't. And is there anything else I can help you with?" There isn't, because you couldn't help with the first thing. You're required to use these phrases regardless of context, creating conversations that sound like they're being conducted by malfunctioning androids. Your 7th hour brings Janet from Jacksonville, and Janet has a problem that perfectly encapsulates the beautiful insanity of modern customer service. She received a promotional email offering her a discount on a service she already has. She called to apply the discount to her account. The discount is valid, but it can only be applied by the sales department. Sales is closed. The email didn't mention that sales is closed. The email also didn't mention that the discount expires today. So Janet is being offered a discount she can't actually receive because the department that handles discounts isn't available during the hours when customers might want to apply discounts. It's like being offered a free meal at a restaurant that's only open when you're sleeping. The logic is so circular, it creates its own gravitational field. You spend 38 minutes trying to find someone, anyone, who can apply Janet's discount. You call the sales department, straight to voicemail. You message your supervisor. She's in a meeting about improving customer response times. You search through knowledge bases, policy manuals, and procedural guides that were written by people who apparently believed that customer service scenarios would only occur during perfectly convenient circumstances. Finally, you discover that there's an emergency sales line for situations exactly like this. You call the number. It's been disconnected. You try an alternative number listed in a different manual. It rings for 6 minutes before going to voicemail. You try a third number that connects you to a department that handles something completely unrelated but has a similar name. Janet, who started this call as a satisfied customer excited about saving money, is now questioning every life choice that led her to become a customer of your company. She's not just frustrated about the discount, she's experiencing an existential crisis about the nature of corporate competence and her place in a universe where simple transactions have become elaborate psychological experiments. The call ends with Janet's discount unapplied, her faith in customer service completely destroyed, and your conviction that you're working for a company that was designed by a committee of people who have never actually used the services they provide. Your performance metrics are now so far below target that your supervisor will probably recommend you for additional training, which means spending your days off in a windowless conference room, learning about customer service techniques that don't work in the real world. But the true horror of Hour 7 isn't just the individual call disasters. It's the growing realization that this is your life now. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year. You'll be absorbing the anger and frustration of people whose problems you can't solve using systems that don't work for a company that measures your success by metrics that have no relationship to actual customer satisfaction. Your headset has become a permanent part of your anatomy, like some sort of technological parasite that feeds on human suffering. The fluorescent lights have burned your retinas to the point where you see everything through a greenish filter that makes the world look like an old computer monitor. Your customer service voice has completely replaced your natural speaking patterns, and you find yourself saying, "I'd be happy to help you with that," to the vending machine when it eats your dollar. Hour 7 ends with the phone already ringing for your next caller, because the system doesn't believe in breaks, pauses, or moments of reflection. There's no time to process what just happened with Janet, no time to mentally prepare for the next customer disaster, no time to question whether this is what you imagined doing with your college degree. The machine keeps feeding, and you're both the operator and the fuel. 7 hours down, 1 to go. You can see the finish line, but it feels like trying to reach the horizon, always visible, never actually getting closer. Hour 8 is the psychological equivalent of running a marathon on broken glass while being chased by wolves. Your brain has officially checked out for the day, leaving behind only the basic motor functions necessary to answer phones and mumble scripted responses. You've reached that special state of consciousness where you're technically awake but spiritually absent, like a customer service zombie shambling through the final hour of your shift. The calls have become a blur of identical complaints, impossible requests, and system failures. There's Bob from Detroit, who wants a refund for a service he cancelled 6 months ago but forgot to mention until today. There's Susan from Las Vegas, who's convinced that your company is deliberately sabotaging her internet connection because she complained about her bill once 3 years ago. There's Michael from Baltimore, who needs technical support for a product that your company stopped manufacturing in 2019, but somehow still sells on the website. Each caller brings their own special brand of chaos to your day. Bob gets angry when you explain that refunds have time limits. Susan demands to speak to someone in America. You are in America, but she's convinced you're not, because you can't magically fix problems that require actual technical work. Michael wants you to personally guarantee that his obsolete product will work forever, and seems genuinely surprised when you explain that you don't have the power to alter the laws of physics or manufacturing. Your computer has crashed 4 more times during hour 8, each crash resulting in lost call notes, disconnected customers, and additional entries in your performance file about technical difficulties affecting customer service delivery. The system administrators blame the crashes on user error, apparently believing that the act of typing while using a computer simultaneously is an advanced technique that requires special training. Your supervisor has been hovering nearby with increasing frequency, and you can practically feel her disappointment radiating through the office air, like heat from a broken radiator. Your metrics for the day are catastrophically bad. Average handle time, too high. Customer satisfaction scores too low. First call, resolution rate approaching 0, and stress levels that would make air traffic controllers weep with sympathy. We need to talk after your shift, she says with the tone of someone scheduling a root canal. In call center management speak, this means you'll be spending an additional unpaid 30 minutes discussing your performance opportunities and creating an action plan for improvement. The action plan will involve impossible goals, additional monitoring, and the ever-present threat that failure to improve will result in transitioning to new opportunities being fired. Your final caller of the day is Richard from Portland, and Richard has achieved something remarkable. He's managed to find a problem that literally cannot be solved by anyone in your company. He purchased a service package that was discontinued before he signed up, using a promotional code that expired before it was created, for an address that exists in a geographic dead zone where your company doesn't provide service. Somehow, your sales department not only sold him this impossible service, but also set up automatic billing for it. Richard has been paying for a service he cannot receive for 6 months, and every attempt to cancel or modify his account has resulted in additional charges and fees. He's not angry anymore. He's reached a Zen-like state of acceptance that suggests he's either achieved enlightenment or suffered a complete psychological break. He speaks with the calm detachment of someone describing a natural disaster that happened to someone else. I know this isn't your fault, Richard says, and you realize he's the first customer today who understands that you're just another victim of the same system that's tormenting him. I know you can't fix this. I know that nobody can fix this. I'm just calling because the automated system makes me call before I can access my account online, and I need to print a bill for my records before I hire a lawyer. Richard's call represents the perfect crystallization of everything wrong with call center customer service. He has a legitimate problem that was created entirely by your company's incompetence. But solving it would require cooperation between departments that don't communicate, access to systems that don't integrate, an authority that nobody at your level possesses. He's trapped in a bureaucratic nightmare that makes Kafka's novels seem like instruction manuals for rational living. You spend 43 minutes documenting Richard's situation, not because documentation will help him, but because failing to document will result in coaching about the importance of thorough record keeping. You transfer him to 3 different departments, each of which transfers him to someone else. You create case numbers that will be forgotten, support tickets that will be closed without resolution, and notes that will disappear into the digital equivalent of a black hole. When Richard's call finally ends, you realize that you've spent an entire day accomplishing absolutely nothing meaningful. You've answered 67 calls, helped 0 people, and somehow made the world a slightly worse place through your participation in a system designed to frustrate customers while protecting companies from actually having to provide customer service. The clock finally reaches the end of your shift, but you can't just leave. You have to complete your end-of-day reports, update your case notes, respond to supervisor messages about your performance, and participate in a brief team meeting about new policies that will make tomorrow even more difficult than today. By the time you're actually allowed to remove your headset and step away from your workstation, you've been at work for 8.5 hours and accomplished nothing except processing human misery. As you walk to the parking garage, you can still hear phantom ringing in your ears. The customer service voice follows you home, making you sound artificially cheerful when ordering takeout dinner. You flinch when your personal phone rings, and you find yourself unconsciously using call center terminology in normal conversations. I understand your frustration becomes your default response to everything from traffic delays to bad weather. 8 hours down, shift complete. You've survived your first day as a call center representative, but surviving and living are 2 completely different things. Tomorrow, you'll do it all again, and the day after that, and the day after that, until either you quit, get fired, or achieve the perfect Zen state of emotional numbness that allows call center veterans to function, despite working in an environment specifically designed to crush the human spirit. Welcome to the modern workforce, where customer service is theater, satisfaction is impossible, and your job is to smile while the system burns down around you. You've made it through your first day, but as you drive home through traffic that suddenly seems peaceful compared to your workplace, you begin to understand the terrible mathematics of call center employment. This wasn't just one bad day. This is your daily reality now. Multiply today's experience by 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, and you start to understand why call center turnover rates hover around 80% annually. The problems you encountered today aren't glitches in an otherwise functional system. They are the system. The impossible customer requests, the authority responsibility gap, the failing technology, the contradictory policies, the impossible metrics. These aren't problems to be solved. They're features designed to extract maximum productivity while minimizing labor costs. You're not a customer service representative. You're a human buffer between angry customers and a company that profits from their frustration. Your phone buzzes with a text from your supervisor. Don't forget, we have your coaching session tomorrow at 8 a.m. before your shift starts. This means arriving 30 minutes early for an unpaid meeting about your performance failures, followed immediately by 8 more hours of the same psychological warfare you just survived. The coaching will involve reviewing recordings of your worst calls, discussing how you could have handled impossible situations better, and creating improvement goals that assume you have control over variables that are completely beyond your influence. You stop at a red light and catch your reflection in the rearview mirror. Something in your eyes has changed. There's a flatness there, a resignation that wasn't present this morning. It's the look you saw in your co-workers' faces but didn't understand until now. It's the expression of someone who has stared into the abyss of corporate customer service and realized the abyss stares back. At home, you try to decompress, but your brain keeps cycling through the day's calls. Margaret in Kansas City still doesn't have her product. Thomas in Seattle is still trapped in billing hell. Richard in Portland is probably consulting with lawyers about service he never received. Janet in Jacksonville missed her discount because the system is designed to offer things it can't deliver. Each unsolved problem feels like a small failure, even though you had no power to solve any of them. You attempt to eat dinner, but your appetite has been replaced by a low-grade anxiety that makes everything taste like cardboard. The customer service voice keeps slipping into your normal speech patterns. You thank your microwave for choosing to heat your food today and ask your cat if there's anything else you need assistance with after filling his bowl. Sleep doesn't come easily. When you finally drift off, you dream about ringing phones, error messages, and customers explaining the same problems over and over while you type notes into systems that crash before you can save them. You wake up at 3 a.m. with phantom phone sounds echoing in your ears and the sudden panic that you forgot to update a case file, even though updating case files accomplishes nothing anyway. Your alarm goes off at 6:30 a.m., giving you just enough time to shower, grab coffee, and drive to work for your pre-shift coaching session. As you get dressed, you practice your customer service voice in the bathroom mirror, and you realize that somewhere between yesterday morning and this morning, your natural voice has started to disappear. The artificial cheerfulness is becoming your default mode, like a psychological defense mechanism against the daily assault on your sanity. In the car, you listen to morning radio and find yourself analyzing the DJ's voice for customer service techniques. You notice how traffic reporters maintain professional composure while delivering bad news, and you wonder if they learned it the same way you did, through repetitive exposure to human disappointment, until emotional numbness becomes a survival skill. You arrive at work with 15 minutes to spare and sit in your car, watching other employees trudge across the parking lot with the defeated posture of people heading to their own execution. Some of them have been doing this job for years, and you can see the psychological toll in their movements. They walk like people carrying invisible weight, their shoulders curved inward as if protecting vital organs from repeated blows. The coaching session takes place in a small conference room that smells like industrial carpet cleaner and broken dreams. Your supervisor has printed out statistics from your first day, call times, satisfaction scores, adherence metrics, and spread them across the table like evidence at a crime scene. Each number represents a moment when you failed to meet impossible standards, using inadequate tools to solve unsolvable problems. "Let's listen to your call with Margaret from Kansas City," she says, clicking play on an audio file. Hearing your own voice dealing with yesterday's disasters is like watching security footage of a car accident in slow motion. You can see the collision coming, but you're powerless to prevent it. Your supervisor pauses the recording every few minutes to point out opportunities for improvement, places where you could have been more efficient, more empathetic, more magical in your ability to override company policies with the power of positive thinking. The coaching session ends with you signing a document acknowledging your commitment to enhanced performance standards and agreeing to additional monitoring of your calls. In practical terms, this means every conversation you have today will be scrutinized for evidence that you've learned to perform. Miracles on demand while maintaining a cheerful attitude about your own professional powerlessness. You return to your workstation, put on your headset, and log into the same systems that failed you yesterday. The computer takes 12 minutes to boot up completely, crashes twice during the login process, and immediately displays 17 error messages about system maintenance that's been ongoing for 6 months. Your chair has somehow become even less comfortable overnight, and the fluorescent light above your desk has developed a strobe effect that makes everything look like a low-budget horror movie. At exactly 9 a.m., your phone rings. Your second day begins, and you realize that yesterday wasn't an aberration, it was orientation. Welcome to your new career, where every day brings fresh opportunities to fail customers. Using systems designed by people who have never spoken to customers, where success is measured by metrics that have no relationship to actual customer satisfaction, and where your job security depends on your ability to maintain artificial enthusiasm for a process that serves no one's interests, except those of people who profit from customer frustration. The phone keeps ringing. Your metrics are being monitored. Your performance is being recorded. Your supervisor is watching for signs of improvement that can't occur within a system designed to prevent improvement. And somewhere in the distance, you can hear the faint sound of your sanity packing its bags and quietly slipping out the back door. Day 2 of your call center career has begun. How many more can you survive before you become one of those hollow-eyed veterans who speak only in corporate jargon and flinch at the sound of telephone rings? The turnover statistics suggest that most people find out within 3 months. But hey, at least you have excellent job security. There will always be more customers to disappoint and more impossible problems to fail to solve. The machine must be fed, and you are both the operator and the fuel. Welcome to the wonderful world of customer service, where the customer is always right, except when they're not, which is always, and that's somehow your fault. The phone is ringing. Your shift has started. Your descent into customer service madness continues, one call at a time, until you either find the exit or lose yourself completely in the labyrinthine nightmare of corporate inefficiency that masquerades as helping people. Either way, the phone will keep ringing, because it always does, and someone has to answer it, and today, that someone is you. Congratulations, representative for 772. Your transformation is complete. You are no longer a person with hopes, dreams, and individual thoughts. You are a customer service unit, designed to process complaints, absorb anger, and apologize for problems you didn't create using solutions you don't have access to. Your performance will be measured, your calls will be monitored, and your job satisfaction will be inversely proportional to your customer satisfaction scores. Welcome to the machine. The phone is ringing. Time to answer it with a smile in your voice and despair in your heart, because that's what customer service excellence looks like in the modern world. And remember, the customer is always right, even when they're completely wrong, especially when you can't help them anyway, and definitely when your inability to solve their unsolvable problems reflects poorly on your performance review. Have a great day, and thank you for choosing a career in customer service, where every call is an opportunity to fail someone while maintaining professional composure about your own professional helplessness. Your first day is over, but tomorrow brings fresh chances to experience the same problems with different voices, creating the illusion of variety in an experience that's uniformly terrible for everyone involved, except the people who design these systems and never have to use them. The phone has stopped ringing. Your shift is over. Time to go home and practice your customer service voice in the mirror, while contemplating whether this job will destroy your soul before it destroys your sanity, or vice versa. Either way, the transformation has begun, and there's no going back to the person you were before you learned that customer service is a psychological experiment disguised as a job, and you're both the researcher and the test subject. Sweet dreams, representative for 772. Tomorrow brings more calls, more impossible problems, and more opportunities to discover just how much disappointment one human being can process before achieving the perfect Zen state of emotional numbness that passes for professional competence in the customer service industry. The machine awaits your return. Rest well, because rest is the only escape you'll get from the beautiful nightmare of modern customer service, where helping people has been transformed into an elaborate performance art piece about the futility of human communication in the digital age. Until tomorrow, when the phone starts ringing again, and the cycle continues, world without end. Amen.